So, my name's Dan, and I'm brewing a stout today. It's an Irish Stout. It's from a package that I got online. And here's all the grains combined together. It's about 5.5 pounds of grains here. And they pre-crushed it for me, so I'll be able to put it right into my mash. What I'm doing today is called a mini mash. So I'm using about 6 pounds of grain total. I'm adding some of my own that I had on hand. And we're going to use the grains to get the sugars from the grains. That's what the mash process does. It extracts all the sugars. I've got my water here for the mash water, and the mash water is at 177 degrees, which is just about where we want it to be, because when we add that into the grain, the temperature of the grain, which is room temperature, is going to cool that right down. So I'm just going to slide that off the heat for a minute while I get the grain in here. So we're just going to put our grain in here. Pour all that right in that came from the kit. I'm going to add that in here. I happen to like a little bit of extra barley in my stouts. It gives it a little bit more body. I have 7 quarts of water. There's all sorts of different ratios you can do. Pounds to quarts. 1 to 1 is about the minimum that I've seen people recommending. And doing 1 to 1 to a quarter is about the highest I've seen. 1 1/4 quarts per. I do about 1.2, 1.15, somewhere in that range. And what I'm doing now is just mixing it over. If you want to come over and take a look in here, you can kind of see what's going on. This is just mixing the grains in here, trying to get them nice and moist. You want all the grain in the water. You don't want any dry spots in there. And notice we're not mixing this in the mash tun. Okay, so that's all mixed in now. So we're going to take this and pour it all in here. This is going to splash out. There's no real good way to avoid the splashing, unfortunately. Take the spoon and scrape out as much of that grain goodness as you can get. Good. Yeah, we're pretty empty in there. Now we're just going to do a tiny bit of stirring in here. Just to get it moved around a little bit. Take a look at that. That looks just like it did before. So now we're in the mash tun, and we want to get a temperature reading on this. So stick my thermometer in there in the middle. I don't know if you can see the temperature there. So 154. That's a good. You want to be 140 to 160. 156 there. Stirred it around a little bit. Might hit a hot spot. Back to 154. So we'll call that 154. I'm going to put the lid on this. The top of my lid is a little dusty, but the inside is clean. Doesn't really matter if the top's dusty or not. Alright. Now, if you follow me, we're going to take this right out to the garage where our boiling setup is going to be. Just going to set this up here, and it can sit. So we're 154 to start. We're going to let this sit. It's 8:54, but I'm going to set a timer inside for 45 minutes, and we'll let it sit. In the meantime, I'm going to boil some water to do the sparging with, but I'm not going to bore you with how to boil water. You all know how to do that. So we'll come back. Talk to you in a little bit.